All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to another live Q&A. I am with the legend that is ElkY, Bertrand Grospellier. That's my French accent, by the way. I know it's super solid. Where are you right now in the world, ElkY?
Hey, hi Sarah. I'm in Prague actually. I've been in Prague for a while. I've been under quarantine for I don't know, a long time. I think since March 10th. March 10th, yes.
Easily, but it's interesting because I've of course listened to lots of stuff on the interwebs, and I feel like Prague and the Czech Republic in general has really handled this like super well. I was watching all these; they were some of the initial initiatives to have everybody wear masks, and I was pretty impressed with the way that the Czech Republic like jumped on board and just handled this business.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. Yeah, of course. Like also how we got quarantined is basically they contact traced like a Uber driver who got infected, and then so I wrote the Uber with Jenny, and then she got an email from like a Czech equivalent of the CDC, and she said like we wrote into infected Uber and we shouldn't leave the house until we get tested, and so we were quarantined, and then very early on, just because we got into an Uber driver who was infected.
Oh my gosh, were you terrified? That's so scary.
No, I was not that terrible. I don't know. I think people were scared. And I was the thing I didn't like. I was kind of afraid of is like, so we got the email on the March 10th, but we wrote the Uber on March 3rd because it took time for them to find out it was positive. I guess, especially at the time there were like very little tests available. So, and I had another trip on the 9th. I just got back from another trip to Paris, so I was like kind of like afraid that I infected some of my friends and people more at risk. But for myself, I was like, I wasn't very afraid for myself, but I was like worried that I could have infected other people without knowing it because I wouldn't have traveled if I knew, obviously. And so that we got quarantined early on, and then they're really strict. If you like quarantine and you break the quarantine and you infect someone, it's a €130,000 penalty.
Stop.
And if you just go out without a mask here, it's actually €1,000 penalty just to leave the house without a mask for anyone. So it's so they're really strict, but I think it's really good, yes, because you can see the data, and they were like much less infected and much less deaths than in other countries. So they took it seriously pretty early on because we were already quarantined March 10th, and I remember like in some other places in the world, they were like, "Oh, it's just the flu. Just live your life," And so that was good. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is so crazy. But also, I mean, yeah, you have to be really rich, I guess, if you want to leave the house without a mask. You gotta be ready to go. Well,
nobody leaves the house without a mask. Actually, we were we got quarantined on the 10th, and then we were on the priority list, but at the beginning there were not that many tests, so I think it took us like 8-9 days to get tested. And the first test we both got positive, Jenny and I, but I didn't have any symptom at all, and she was only sick for 2 days, so she already recovered. And then we got another test the next week, and we were again positive. Then we got another test the next week, and we were negative. And even once you're tested negative, you're not allowed to leave the house until you get tested the next week, and you have to get tested negative 2 weeks in a row in order to be able to leave the house. So now we got the fourth test, and it's negative again, and now we can leave. So
holy crap!
So they took it really seriously, yeah.
And you never felt anything?
I never had anything. No. Jenny was a bit sick for 2 days. Actually, she had like fever and cough, but not really bad. But a little bit sick, but I never had anything actually. So,
oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Because also there's false negatives, lots of them, because I think the tests are not so good, maybe. But that sounds pretty solid. Like when they're testing you that many times, I mean that's more than likely.
But I think it's more like chances to get false negative if you are not tested positive. Like if you tested positive before and you do the same test, it's unlikely that it's a false negative, right? It's a false negative if they just do a test to you, because apparently the virus is not always where they do that, because they do like the nasal swab. They go really deep actually. It's pretty uncomfortable.
I was gonna say, and you had to do it like 4 or 5 times.
4 times, yeah, 4 times.
Oh my gosh, that's
and so I think
crazy.
actually most of the time it was okay, but I think one time, because like, okay, the first time they came to our place to do it, and the second time there was an ambulance waiting outside, but they came super early in the morning and we were sleeping, and then like we had to take time to wake up, so we were like, so the guy was waiting downstairs for like 10 or 15 minutes, I think, and he was not happy, so he went like really deep. So it's like it was pretty uncomfortable, yeah. But
He's like, these assholes, they're getting it for sure. Man, that is so crazy. And really, even, I mean, I don't know, you can definitely see with an Uber or whatever, it would be really hard to avoid. I mean, you're touching everything that they're touching, and but I actually haven't known anyone personally so far that's gotten it, and so I'm actually kind of, it's really a relief to just know someone who got it and then was fine.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm lucky. I guess most people they got it and they have nothing, right? But for a few person, it can be extremely severe and dangerous. So that's why we still have to be really careful.
All right, everyone's saying hi, by the way. Everyone misses
Yeah,
you.
hi guys. Where can you see the chat on Facebook?
Yeah. And okay, so let me know. So I actually kind of remember you being in Prague years ago now. I think I saw you in Rozvadov or something, and you told me you were
Yes,
living in
yes.
Prague. So what brought you to Prague? What's the story with sort of how you found your home base there?
Well, I needed to. So I think I moved in 2000. I even forgot, 15 or 16. I think 16 maybe. And at the time, I needed to find a place to play on the when there was still like .fr site when I was playing on .fr site. So I needed a place to play on .fr sites and a place where I could also be able to play on the .com site because like it's important because there's so much more competition and so much bigger tournament there. So I need to be able to play on both for my sponsor, and actually there are not that many places in Europe where you can do it. It's like pretty sad. Like a lot of places, it's very complicated when it comes to the poker regulation nowadays. So basically, like I think the choices they were now down to there were like 4 places. They were like pretty much like Estonia. And Estonia is a really cool country, but I look at the like flights itinerary. It's kind of far off. I love it. I love Tallinn when I went there, but when you want to travel a lot, it's not really convenient. It's not a convenient place at all. And there was also like Malta, but Malta is kind of similar. It's not so easy to travel, and I don't really like it too much. And there was Prague or Czech Republic or Austria, and it was kind of close between Czech Republic and Austria. I think they're both like really cool places, but eventually, like I don't know, we came to Prague so many times for the EPT back in the days, and I always liked it. So I went to visit and check out some places here at other times, and now Jenny and I we both loved it, and then so it made a lot of sense. And then I met Leon, who was the owner of King's Casino, and I became friends with him. And then it like makes a lot of sense to live in Prague to just go to King's because it's the biggest poker room in Europe. Like was have the best tournaments all the time. Like as far as the most action all year long. So living, it's almost like playing at home. Like it's like the best place in Europe I could think about. You know.
Yeah, it makes sense actually. I lived there for a while. I think it is really central, and also it is relatively cheap, I think, compared to
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
love
other
it.
places.
Like the city is beautiful. It's I think the safest place in Europe. They have like the lowest crime and the lowest unemployment, and um, people are friendly and relaxed. I think I feel like they're more relaxed than the Austrians sometimes. So it's like, I don't know, if it's they're more chill than Czech people. That's kind of what I felt. And it's also a little bit, Vienna is a beautiful city, but I feel like Prague is more lively. I like the vibe. I like the vibe better. So that it was like made a lot of sense to move here. But I mean, like we were still traveling a lot before. Now obviously we don't travel anymore, but back like until a few months ago we were still spend like most of the year on the road. But Prague was a good place to be here.
Well, it's interesting because I think there's such a large poker playing community in Austria. But you're kind of like I don't know how to like you're kind of like a rogue guy who like does things on your own. You definitely follow your own path, and I wouldn't say that you necessarily always need a big community around you. ElkY just does ElkY, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have such a big community in Prague anymore because now they just got regulations. So a lot of them, they moved back to Malta or to places where they could play on the .com for most of the site. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like the thing is like when you play like so much of the MTTs as well, and you just like every time you travel, you see the same players in the community anyway. So you don't really need to be a home base where you like see them so often. You know, it's like more like when I travel, I'm on the road, I play poker all time, and when I'm at home, I like a little bit more chill. I like this kind of balance as well.
I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit about. I'm just trying to catch up. You know, I've been on maternity leave for a while now, so I'm a little out of a lot of the scene. So you got to tell me where have you been traveling? What has been going on in the last, year of your life? Where are the live games going? Where are the hot games online happening? All the juicy stuff.
Okay, of course. So I've been traveling, but like pretty much the standard tournament circuit, Vegas, Europe, and last year I won my second World Series of Poker bracelet. So I don't know if you followed that one. That was a sick one. I won it in the Colossus event at Kings, actually, Kings Casino. So it was the last event of the WSOP Europe, and the biggest event because there were like 2,700 entries, and it was also like the most drama-filled event because that's where so they
Shaun
were like 12 times Daniel Negreanu, 12 times Shaun Deeb, and then like Shaun Deeb was at the final day. He was at the table with me, and there were 11 players left, and I busted him in 10th, I believe, because at the time he was thinking he had to get fifth or better to win the Player of the Year for the WSOP, so he took a lot of risks. And then, so when I busted him, I texted Daniel, who's, by the way, my colleague at Gigi Poker now, and I told him, like, hey, congratulations, I busted Shaun, your Player of the Year. And even though I was joking at first, he was like, oh my God, if you're joking, I want to kill you. I'm like, no, come on. I'm not like that. I would have been sick. And so only to eventually find out later that neither Daniel nor Shaun won the Player of the Year, and it was Robert Cumber who won. That was like the craziest story. So basically, if Shaun had to get ninth, he would have won for sure because it was like, I think it was like 13 chips when we went to the final day, and then you wouldn't have to take the same risk he took to get fifth in the tournament. When you're like third out of 11th and you have to get ninth, it's pretty easy usually. But when you have to get fifth, obviously it's like much higher risks are needed. So that was like a crazy situation. But I guess it turned out well for me because I won the bracelet. And if Shaun only had to get ninth, he probably wouldn't have busted to me. I wouldn't have gotten all those chips, like butterfly effect. So, but pretty sick story, yeah.
It's so crazy because that was actually, like, I think one of the very last interviews I did before I went on maternity leave was I interviewed Shaun and Daniel right after all this stuff happened. And I hadn't even, of course, Shaun and I talked a lot about you and about that hand and the whole situation. And it's so funny now to hear it from your perspective. And it is like everything is affected by every little bit of information, of course, in this game.
Yeah, it's insane, yeah.
So you were obviously you and Daniel both were famously with PokerStars for ages and ages, a long-standing relationship. But a lot of people parted ways with Stars in the last couple years. I think most, at least, of the pros that we sort of came to know and love on all the stops as the Stars pros. And you and Daniel now are both with Gigi Poker, which I think it was just announced last week. And Gigi,
like 10 days ago, about 13 days, 2 weeks ago, almost, yes.
Yeah, and this basically came out of, for me, when I left 4 months ago, Gigi Poker was not even really a thing, and now it seems like it's what everybody's talking about. So let's kind of just talk a little bit about your decision really to get sponsored again. I think you know better than anybody all the responsibility and all the things that go into that, what it means to be an ambassador, but also why Gigi Poker.
Yes, so Gigi Poker actually is another crazy story. Is I've been knowing the director and the founder for over 15 years. Actually, when I started playing on Stars and getting sponsored, he was starting an affiliate business back in the day for like Full Tilt Poker and Stars, and that's how he started in poker. And eventually, he got to build his own software, and now it's like the number two poker site in the world and like the fastest growing one. So I've been we've been friends for like 15 years, but as you said, like until the last years, they were like more focused on the software development side and the B2B business, and they were not really trying to be like they were not like using the marketing resources to be a major brand in poker, but their strategy has shifted, and that's what made a total sense. For I mean, like I really found back like the values I when I talked to him and I talked to the team at Gigi Poker, I really like sync with their value, and they want to like bring poker to the masses, and they want to bring make poker a lot more fun again, because I think like of course it's gonna be like that for every I think for every game in sports is gonna be more and more professional, and of course when you see the high stakes in poker, there's so much to win that it's totally understandable that everybody's trying to be the best, and we're not here to like bring fun to the game when you're like playing for millions of dollars. But there's like a little bit of a disconnect between like the players playing the super high roller and the tournaments and the major events, and the pros who are like playing for millions, and like the guys who play at home or like who goes to a casino like once a month and just want to have fun. It's like we cannot expect them to have fun the same way as a professional. So I think it's and I think also that was kind of one of the flaws in the design in most of the poker marketing and poker business, is that they kind of cater it to the pros a little bit too much, and of course the competitive aspect of poker is very important, and you need to be able to better yourself, and that's what makes the game exciting, but you also need to have fun while doing it, and I think the fun component is really important, and of course joining my friend and former colleague Daniel again, and being able to work together and be together was also like really important. So there was a lot of things that came to that decision, but I think Gigi Poker is really I really love their ambition and the direction they're trying to get and bring poker to.
Well, and it's interesting because me just coming back in, I've noticed they have already established relationships now with a whole bunch of other really kind of big carriers and big tournament series. And, I think as a we all agree and understand that as a poker community, we need to work together to grow the game, because ultimately that's value for everyone. It's better for everyone the bigger the game is. But something I saw, they already have forged a partnership with the World Series of Poker, right? There's a whole big series just about to start.
Yeah, the World Series of Poker circuit is like it's gonna actually be the biggest online series guarantee ever. So they guaranteed $100 million for the WSOP circuit series, which is gonna run in May. So it's pretty amazing, actually.
I'm sorry, $100 million?
$100 million guaranteed, yes, for May. So it's like the biggest series online ever, and it's really impressive how they grew everything, how fast they're growing. Not only if you follow, so like before that, their main event was like the Gigi Masters, and I think when they signed Daniel on board, it was a $300,000 guarantee for $150, but no re-entry, like freeze out, right? And like last Sunday, we already beat the $500,000 guarantee, so it's like almost double in a few months, and it's gonna keep going. So it's pretty amazing and really exciting to be around them.
Well, okay, so of course us in America, we're depressed because we can never play on any good sites. But that being said, I went to a conference about 2 years ago, and they had sort of invited certain poker players there, and there was lots of heads of different parts of different sites there, and it was basically just this conversation to talk about what's wrong with the game, what's wrong with online poker, how do we get more players. And a lot of what the poker players specifically were talking about, and what was missing from a lot of the major sites, they were saying was the development of the software itself. So that a lot of the major sites are sort of stagnating in software that's, maybe a decade old, and that it's just, such a production to update the software or to change the software that a lot of the sites are sort of falling behind. So you're saying that GG Poker specifically spent all this time developing software that's stuff that poker players will like. And actually that was one of the things that really surprised me in the conference, was the poker players talking about these really small little nuances, like where the text chat box should be, or where how much space people's like avatars should take, or I don't things that like I just would never think of and that weren't something that's important to me, but that for a poker player it makes a big difference when you're multi-tabling or whatever it is. So what are some of the things that you see with the software at Gigi that as a poker player means something to you, or sort of surpasses
the software is definitely the sickest. It's like the best software, like by far. They're like miles ahead, because basically that's what their main focus was for so many years. That's why they also haven't had like mass marketing before. They were really focusing on building the best software they could, and the software is really amazing. There's so many things. So I mean, like some of the coolest thing I think is one is that there is a staking platform included in the client, so you can buy player. You can, when you register for a tournament, you can decide how much action you want to sell and which markup, and then players in the tournament they will see, and they just can buy directly from the Gigi Poker account, and the winnings will be directly sent to the Gigi Poker account as well. So it's like makes it super easy for players to buy or sell action of others like directly within the client, because all the other sites that do that, basically you have to go for a third party. So it's like complicated and slow. And here you just like, you can watch the action unfold on Gigi Poker. And if your horse like makes final table, you get the cash right away in your account. And it's like so easy and flawless and perfect,
Wow, that's super cool. And I'm sure especially for someone like you, it makes it even easier to just jump in whatever tournament all the time. I'm sure people are
it's
excited.
really cool. And it's also, I mean, it's really cool for the players, but it's also really cool for the poker economy, because you can also see the result of players with their like staked results. So you can have a tracking on that. And they have so many but like one of the big feature also is that you can sweat the river when you play the tournament. That's really cool. You can sweat it and discover, like the guy with short stack, you can peel the river card. Basically it comes on the screen and you peel it.
Stop. That's like my favorite thing to do. It's like the worst but the best thing to do. What?
Yeah, and you cannot do it live. Now when I do it live, I'm when I want to do it, like when I'm rolling and short stack, I'm going to tell Zilla, can you for me the river so I can peel it, and you can
Wow, that's so cool. And
there's so many cool stuff there's so many cool stuff you can do. And like I think the most important thing is that because the software is so much better, they're also going to be able to release upgrade much faster, and they're just going to keep on improving and keep on being better. And if they like really cool feature that they want to integrate, it's going to be much faster for Gigi Poker than for anyone else to integrate into the client.
Man, that's so sick. Well, I know obviously, and of course everyone's saying so sick in the chat.
So sick,
but
yes.
but so you've famously been streaming games. You were a gamer early on, right? And I think there was this real movement, especially in the last like 4 or 5 years, to understanding that poker should also be perceived, or at least maybe marketed more like esports and viewed more like esports. And then I kind of remember maybe a couple years ago that you were back to gaming a little bit again. Are you?
I was playing with Team Liquid for Hearthstone for like about a year.
Yeah. So are you back to sort of that life, or was that just a little brief interlude?
No, that was a little brief. I mean, it's just too hard to compete in both games at once. It takes pretty much like full-time focus if you want to be competing at the top level in any game. And so I couldn't really do both at the same time. But I'm still like really connected to the esport and gaming community. But I'm not competing. I'm not competing myself. It's just
hanging
too
out
tough
with the homies.
to be good at two things at once.
I mean, that makes total sense. But it looks like you still at least have a great setup in your place. So is there plans to, or do you stream poker for Gigi?
Yes, for sure. I streamed like last Sunday, and I'm gonna stream tomorrow actually on the Gigi Poker official channel, and I'll be streaming like I think at the very least once a week on their channel, because we're gonna have big plans to build the channel and to build the brand on stream. And I think Gigi Poker is also perfect to stream, because it's like you can do a lot of fun stuff. You can also emote, and like I don't know if you're familiar with that. You have like emotes that you can use, but it's kind of like animated guy. So when you like take a bad beat, you can just like do like bad beat, or you can say like well played, or you can actually BM people too. You can be a little bit bad manner, and when it's a bubble and you call with a draw, you can wave like goodbye before the river comes, because you're gonna get lucky. You can do a lot of cool stuff, and it brings like interaction, and it's like it makes it more fun to play. Like it's kind of add an additional fun to the game. Even though like poker playing is always fun, but the main problem was not like poker playing, is like poker watching. I mean, for me, you know, I love the game of poker, but sometimes like watching poker is like really slow and it's like not much happen. For stream is different because you have interaction with the streamer, but like watching live poker is like sick if you don't have like commentaries or anything. If you just like watch it, I never understood how people do it, you know. Like sometimes we play like WSOP in Vegas and I'm playing and I see all these guys waiting and like, what is it? They don't even see anything. They don't even see the action. They probably don't see the board, the card. I don't understand why they stand there for hours. I don't know. I don't know what's exciting about it. You know, as much as I love the game, I don't find any excitement. I mean, obviously, like the WSOP main event final table, it's different, but like otherwise, just watching like a regular table, like by the side, you know, on the rail when you can't see anything, what's going on. It's like,
I have the same thing. I'm always just like, what? How are? And they'll stand there for hours. And these wives and girlfriends and stuff that just sit there the whole time. I'm like, you are a hero because this is so boring. What is happening?
But I think if it's like, okay, if you're a wife or girlfriend, it's a little bit understandable. But sometimes there's just people who have no connection at all. They're just like fans, and it's like pretty impressive how they can stand there for hours on end, like seeing nothing.
It's so true. Well, and I think so, you know, sort of circling back to the beginning of our conversation where we were talking about COVID and how this is changing, you know, the landscape of just living right now. Another thing is that I think a lot of us who are used to watching fantastic streams of live poker are now moving to watching people play online, which can be a lot more of a snooze fest. So I do think it would be a lot more fun to watch players like giving each other a little bit of hell or, you know, talking trash a little bit. Do you think, I mean, my husband and I were talking about this the other day, that the software clearly must exist. I mean, the technology exists, that we should be able to actually stream ourselves playing against other people playing poker. Does that make sense? Like instead of an avatar, what do you think it's ever going to happen where we can actually just see each other while we're playing?
Yeah, I think technology will be there, but I think for now it's kind of different. But before, when there were kind of live poker to do it, so people want to play online, they don't want to show their faces because it was kind of like a different part. But obviously, we don't know how the situation is gonna evolve with COVID and everything. So I don't know when we're gonna be able to play live poker again. So now it makes more sense because like there's all these guys that like prefer to play live poker before, and they are like also forced to play online, right? I mean, I always love both, but for some players now they have no choice but to play online. So definitely, technology will be able. I think we will be able to do it, but we have to like. I don't know if most of the players, because I think some sites tried to do it before, but it was just not a popular thing. Most of the players, they would prefer to be hidden, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's gonna. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I also get that part of it. The anonymity is part of the allure of online poker. Well, I think there's
also. I think it's like it makes much more sense if you play one table. I mean, if you play with one table with people you know, with your friend, then it makes a lot of sense because it's really cool. But if you play like 12 table, you don't want people to like look at you when you're playing, like when you're like mass grinding and multi-tabling. It's
right.
Like
you're not even paying attention to that table.
I mean, you're not even paying attention, and like there's gonna be even more distracting if you see like if you play like 10 tables and you see faces on like 90 different faces at the same time on the screen, you will just go crazy. I think, you know.
Well, I wanted to ask you, especially because I'm basically using you as my guinea pig to teach me about Gigi. So I had Rob Young. I've talked to a few of the different, you know, major sites about some of the decisions they've made in the last year. For example, how many tables people are allowed to multi-table is something that a lot of the major sites have brought down. Is that something? What's the policy on Gigi right now for that? And then the other question I think is there's a lot of stuff with HUDs and hand histories, which people have very polarizing opinions on, and where does Gigi stand on those things?
Oh yeah, you cannot use a HUD on Gigi, but there is like a built-in client which is called a PokerCraft. So basically you can see your result with PokerCraft, and you can see also like you have the VPIP of every player displayed at the table, and there's also like a little let's say it's on fire. There's like fire. There's a number, and it can be on fire, or it can be ice cold, or it's pretty cool. And there's a lot of things which are displayed on the client, but they don't allow third-party software, which I think is good as well because
safety, security.
But they have a really developed like PokerCraft thing. So when you play, you can check your results and the stats from your session, and everything is built in pretty much. So they don't allow you to export the hand to other third party or to use a third party software when you play.
And then are you allowed to multi-table as many as you want?
I think it's much better for it to be built in, because then every player is like on
equal.
The equals. Every player is equal and have access to the same tool. Like obviously, like if you can access any tool, like some players, I mean, it's part of the work as well to master those tools. But for a lot of like more casual players, actually, like learning poker can be extremely fun, but to be honest, it can be pretty boring. Like learning like memorizing solver plays for like so many situations where there's like so little impact in the, like the more you learn and the less impact it has in some way. So it can be not the most fun thing, learning how to use a tracker or those things. So because like on GG Poker everything is included, everybody is kind of like equal to that, and then it's like much better, I think.
And I think obviously overall for safety and security, anytime that something is in-house or is already exists within that software, it gives you a better sense of security, of course, and safety.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels better that you know that you have access to the same tool and the same thing as everyone you play against, and you don't have to spend like hours and hours to like master a different software or a different third-party program, or like, because that's like you can just focus on playing the game that's fun, and then if you want to, you have everything that everyone else has you play against us. So it's kind of like it's much better for everyone, I think. Yeah.
And even with all these super fun extras like rabbit hunting or, like doing emojis, does the software runs fast enough that for someone like you who wants to play multiple tables, that's also fine and available?
Yeah, I think the most I played was like 12, and 12 was no problem. Yes. So I don't know if there's a cap, but 12 table is usually good enough.
Yeah, 12 tables seems like enough. I think that could keep you busy for a while, I think. So when you're gonna stream, how do people follow you so that they know when that's gonna go down?
I'm gonna stream mostly on twitch.tv/ggpokerofficial, but sometimes I also stream on my my personal channel, which is twitch.tv/ElkY, so they will know. If they just follow me on Twitter, I would post every time I stream somewhere.
And on the Twitter, he's at ElkY.
You should also follow the GG Poker official Twitch channel and Twitter channel, because there are gonna be a lot of streams. And now they're like, I don't know if you follow, but the last streams, things last week they were the first one to be able to stream a tournament with whole cards for like online tournaments. So they're the whole cards with about 1 hour delay. They're like the first one to have come up with the technology. So basically, they get the whole cards when the hand is finished. They get the whole cards from the hand history, and then they can input it onto the table that's pre-recorded play. So then you can see the live tournament, online tournament with whole cards on delay. So that's a really cool feature as well. Because from what I understood, like every other online tournament, basically, if you want to see the whole cards, you have to wait the next day for the replay, right? But now you can just see it like with a delay. So it's a really cool feature.
Wow, that's so awesome. And you said that you've been friends with the people behind GG Poker for a while. Is it like a secret, or who are the minds behind GG Poker?
No, it's not. It's not like this mysterious human being. But GG Poker, because they're based in Korea, and that's where they develop all their software, which is also like why the software is so good, because they've been like basically like putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of focus on software development, and it kind of remind me of like Stars back in the days, like how the software was so much better than everywhere else because that was the focus on. And I think it's one of the really key thing, and like that's also, as you said, that's where like that's where the poker site in general and the poker business, they're like the software in poker, it evolved besides GG Poker, all the other software, it evolved so slowly compared to, if you see like video games or like any other thing, like, the software is just like crazy. Like video games 5 years ago, they looked like nothing like video games now. Now it looks like real life, right? But like if you look at it, actually, a poker site 5 years ago and a poker site now, they mostly look, besides Gigi Poker, they mostly look the exact same, and they feel the exact same. And of course, I can understand like people's frustration. You know, when you live in a world where everybody is changing so fast, and then like you're doing the same, or you can do the same thing, but it just has to like, I don't know, if you have add-on and it has to look different, it has to like feel different. It's just like so much more refreshing and exciting, I think.
It is so true. I think about it in the film industry, especially. You watch a movie from 5, 6 years ago and it looks like, is it 1994? What is this? This movie is so old. And then, but really the poker, it struggled, I think, to evolve. And probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that nobody wants to shut down or deal with the bugs or the issues that would have to happen to sort of revamp or reboot. But when you're starting from scratch, when you're starting from square one, you can really take the time to build it out into exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah, but you also have to, that's why you also have to have the vision to decide that you really want to invest heavily in software, because it's also like something that takes a lot of time, and it's something that doesn't really bring you rewards right away, of course. Like it's more of a grind, and it's more something that you have to have the vision and you have to believe in it, because it's like you can spend a lot of time building the software, but then like it takes so long for you to reap the benefits from it, and for players who, especially in something like poker, where like the liquidity is so important, and so if you don't have as many players, like short term, I think like definitely like spending money, let's say in marketing, is gonna bring you so many more players than software. That's why it's like also require you to really believe in it, and to be able to be patient and grind it up, and to invest in software and know that like a couple of years down the road is gonna make a huge difference. You know.
That makes so
That's
much
something
sense.
I could never do. I cannot watch 2 years ago. I cannot watch 2 years forward. You know, 2 years maybe now. This is the max I can look forward to.
It's so true. You have to really be patient and really have a vision and like really believe in that vision. All right. Well, I know that you probably have to get on with your life. It's already happy hour where you are. And I want to give a big thanks to everybody who was watching with us and joined with us. It's pretty early here in the US. It's like 8:30 in the morning for people.
Oh, 8:30 in the morning. Oh my God, yeah. I should have done it later. I'm so sorry, Sarah.
Oh, no.
You know you have to wake up at 8:30 in the
morning. Listen, it's fine. I've got a baby now, so I'm used to it. But I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And for those who are watching later, thank you. And of course, for those who are listening, we're going to insert this also into this week's coming PokerNews podcast. So before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share with the fam?
I think we're good. I want to thank everyone for the support, and hopefully see them on Gigi Poker.
And we are so glad that you are COVID-free, ElkY. I am just, man, I would have been so depressed. All right, awesome, man. Well, enjoy your life, and you guys make sure to follow Gigi Poker Official and also at ElkY Poker to get a hold of the streams. And yeah, we will just catch you on the flip side. Deuces.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Boom. All right, we did it. You're free. Enjoy your life. You're the best. That was perfect.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye, sweetheart.